All this as the Obama administration prepares for possible airstrikes on ISIS. Now, U.S. officials estimate 70 to 100 Americans have gone to Syria to join ISIS or other militant groups. Earlier this month, ISIS butchered American journalist James Foley and threatened to do the same to another American hostage. Of course, continuing coverage on this crisis on NBC, on air and online. That's a look at your news. Now, here's David.
Thank you, Latrice. Well, let's face it, finance is still a top concern for most Americans, with many working without even basic costs of living raises, while prices at the pump and grocery stores continue to rise. That's resulted in still very high filing for bankruptcy protection. Good to have attorney Aaron Epstein, bankruptcy attorney, back on the show today. Aaron, it's always a good time when you come in just because you give us so much information, especially with taxes and filing bankruptcy and the impacts of filing bankruptcy as kind of the overall topic. Let's talk about that. A lot of people will stay away from it as much as they can, which I guess is good, but they may be staying away for the wrong reasons.
Well, you know, what could be more exciting than a bankruptcy lawyer talking about taxes? I'm not a tax lawyer, but, and I want to thank you again for starting out with this amazing barbecue, music,
just for you,
and
man.
Then me.
Just
so
for you.
Hard acts to follow.
You're as good as a ribeye, my friend.
Thank you. I wanted to talk about them because I'm seeing more and more potential clients come to see me, and they haven't filed their taxes for whatever reason. And there's a deer in the headlights mentality, I think. People say, my goodness, I owe this money. I just can't even file taxes. And the first takeaway here, just file them, even if you owe money, because if you ever get to my office, if for some reason you have to file a bankruptcy, any type of bankruptcy, you've got to have those taxes filed. And one of the problems we're seeing is people will come in and their checks being garnished, they're about to have a foreclosure, and you absolutely have to file your taxes. Now, there are some technical rules which give you until 7 days before a meeting of creditors, maybe 23 days after you file, but we have found that you really need to have all those ducks in a row.
It sounds like it's that whole idea of people just seeing that they're in a problem and burying their head in the sand and hoping that it'll just go away on its own.
Well, that is human nature,
yeah.
and so, you know, I can't change human nature, but if 1 or 2 or 3 people out there say, you know, I didn't realize how much worse it is to not file, and I believe I'm right about this, the penalty for not filing is significantly more, maybe a 0.5% per month for filing and not paying, and maybe 5% per month for not filing at all. So it doesn't hurt you to file even if you can't afford to pay them.
And is it a mistake that people make, I would imagine, that they go 1 year, nothing happens? Hey, it's a little old me. Who's going to notice little old me? And then 3-4 years down the road, bam, they get hit.
Well, my father used to joke that the biggest mistake is filing that first return. So if you never file a tax return, you'll be okay. But no, we joke about that. You obviously are better off. Even many people come to me and they may owe 6 or 7 years worth of taxes, and they've got to deal with that. I can help them deal with it once they file the returns.
So money owed to the IRS, that is something that can be included in some way on a bankruptcy?
Well, in a Chapter 13, you can repay that over a period of up to 5 years. In a Chapter 7, if you have filed your taxes timely, even if you owe taxes, if they're more than 3 years old, the general rule is they can be dischargeable. Now, that's a very general rule, so may not apply to you, but for a lot of people, timing is everything. I have people who owe taxes from 5 or 6 years ago or 2 or 3 years ago. They may wait a year to come see me.
And one last question, we're out of time, but did want to ask this. If people have not filed in 2 or 3 years and they're afraid of what might happen if they now come out and confess that they haven't filed, should they be afraid of that, or are there ways to deal with it? Look, I didn't file, let's do this.
I'm not a tax lawyer, once again, but I don't think there is any harm in having your returns filed, even if you have a